Tonight on Monday Night Raw, the WWE United States Championship is on the line. It's going to open up the show. We're going to have Apollo Crews returning to Monday Night Raw to defend the WWE United States Championship against the self-appointed real United States Champion, MVP. Now, Apollo Crews has been absent from WWE television for several weeks now. The feud between MVP and Apollo Crews goes back quite a while. Actually, it goes back to June, and we're in August right now. So on the June 2020 edition of Monday Night Raw, after weeks of turning down the advances to become his business manager, Apollo Crews was indeed the guest on MVP's VIP Lounge. Now, during the talk show, MVP once again said that he would like to be Apollo Crews' business manager, help the United States Champion thrive in WWE. But once again, Apollo Crews would turn down MVP's advances to become a member of what would now be known as the Hurt Business. He didn't officially have a name at that point, but MVP would go on to create this stable known as the Hurt Business. But Apollo Crews turned down MVP's advances, which led to a match between Apollo Crews and Shelton Benjamin, which Apollo Crews won. However, after that match, Apollo Crews was attacked by Bobby Lashley, MVP's heavy in recent weeks, and a member of the Hurt Business, of course, putting Apollo Crews in the full Nelson submission hold, which Bobby Lashley has used going forward now as his finishing maneuver, hasn't he? And to be honest, it's classic, isn't it? Because it just goes to show that if you use a submission long enough, and if it's done with the right person, it can get over and be devastating. I remember an analogy that Paul Heyman once used. He said if Mark Henry had a side headlock as his finisher and the person selling it really sold the hell out of it, and the commentator said this is the world's strongest man, he's got someone in a side headlock, and let's be honest, if the world's strongest man gets you in a side headlock, your head would probably explode. It could be a finish. And it's the same thing here with Bobby Lashley in this full Nelson submission hold. If you've ever been in a full Nelson, it actually does really, really hurt. So someone the size of Bobby Lashley putting it on someone, yeah, it can be a legitimate finish and a legitimate submission. So that's always interesting. I think what's also interesting about Bobby Lashley using the full Nelson submission is that for ages, the full Nelson submission was known as the Master Lock in WWE, used by Chris Masters, the Masterpiece. And the first person to officially break the Master Lock after years and years of it not being broken on WWE television was none other than Bobby Lashley himself in 2007. So interesting that Bobby Lashley is the one to be currently using the full Nelson submission hold. Now, the following week on Monday Night Raw, after this June 22nd episode, to the June 29th edition of Monday Night Raw, MVP would actually defeat Apollo Crews in a non-title match, and Apollo Crews hasn't been seen on WWE television ever since that loss to MVP on the June 29th edition of Monday Night Raw. Since then, we've seen MVP do a whole lot on WWE television. Since then, MVP actually has unveiled the new WWE United States Championship design, the first redesign since the championship became official in WWE back in 2003, but also the first redesign of the United States Championship for 13 years, and dubbed himself as the real United States Champion. Now, there's a video on this channel which basically says my opinion of this redesign of the United States Championship, so I'm not going to completely chew my food twice when it comes to that one. As I mentioned at the time, it is growing on me. I don't think it's horrible or anything like that. There is still a lot that I would change about that United States Championship, particularly the lack of blue in the whole stars. I think if it's going to be United States, you've got to have some blue and red on there. There's red, but there's not a lot of blue on there, so I would have the blue on there. I wouldn't have the words champion being so big on there as well. It's funny because the words United States are small and the word champion is big. Surely that would be the other way around. And I would have the eagle being the centerpiece of the title as opposed to being at the bottom. I know it's nitpicking, but the title is growing on me, and it is. I've warmed to it more than I had when I first saw it, but I still think they could have done it better. But look, you can always do something better, right? As always, hindsight is a wonderful thing. It's not horrible, but there are parts of it that I would improve. So this had set up a United States Championship match between MVP and Apollo Crews at the horror show at Extreme Rules. We were going to see who was indeed the real United States Champion at that show. MVP carrying around the new United States Championship, or Apollo Crews holding the old version of the United States Championship and officially being the United States Champion after beating Andrade several weeks prior to that on Monday Night Raw. However, it was announced during the pay-per-view, so we had MVP come out at Extreme Rules, we have the match ready to go, and then the announcers, Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, Samoa Joe, announced that Apollo Crews did not pass his, quote, pre-match physical end quote, due to Bobby Lashley's previous attack on him, and therefore would be unable to compete, thus cancelling the match. A lot of people were very confused what was going on at this point in time, what was going on with Apollo Crews. In reality, it had been reported by Dave Meltzer that Apollo Crews had reportedly tested positive for COVID-19. Therefore, he was going to be off of television for several weeks while he was self-isolating and in quarantine. This then led again to MVP declaring himself as the real WWE United States Champion at Extreme Rules, and he's carried around the United States Championship ever since. Now, obviously, Apollo Crews has been medically cleared to return to Monday Night Raw, so we can finally find out who, of course, is the real WWE United States Champion once and for all. However, it must be said that in recent weeks, MVP has officially founded his new group known as The Hurt Business on Monday Night Raw. This group consists of himself, Bobby Lashley, and the newest recruit, the WWE 24/7 Shelton Benjamin. So Apollo Crews certainly will not have the numbers in his favour on Monday Night Raw tonight. It's interesting because who do I think is going to win this one? It would make a lot of sense here, you would think, for Apollo Crews to come in and win. But I think given everything that's happened, obviously he's been off of telly. I said it again, I'm very British today, off of television, telly. That is very British of me. He's been off of TV for over a month now, and has he lost momentum because of that? Absolutely. He absolutely has. If you're not on TV, you do lose momentum. Of course, it's not his fault. They had him written off of television initially just to sell the attack of Bobby Lashley and hype up the Extreme Rules match. I don't think they factored in that Apollo Crews was going to get or test positive for COVID-19 heading into Extreme Rules. However, with Apollo Crews, of course, being off of television, it has meant that he's lost a bit of the shine to his character at the moment, and certainly has lost momentum. And in that void space of not having Apollo Crews on Raw, MVP and his group, The Hurt Business, have absolutely got a ton of momentum. I think The Hurt Business as a faction is very, very interesting at the moment. It certainly has a lot of people talking about them. I still think we're going to see more members added to The Hurt Business. Currently, we have MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin, but I think it's highly likely we can see other people join the faction in the near future. I've made a video on this channel discussing who I do think will join The Hurt Business, or could rather join The Hurt Business in the future. And if I was... It's a very close one to call, this one. I think it's likely, in my opinion, that I think Apollo Crews will retain. I would say that is probably my prediction for this one. But the interesting thing about it is that if you're looking at momentum, if you're looking at who really could, I think, deserves to be United States Champion at the moment, it's probably MVP. It's probably MVP. You look at that group, The Hurt Business, and that can be something really special and quite substantial on Monday Night Raw going forward. Obviously, there have been lots of discussions about it being a 2020 version of the Nation of Domination. Are they going to be doing something with that? We saw Ron Simmons backstage at Raw recently. We saw Mark Henry backstage at Raw recently. By all accounts, that was to properly put the foot to the gas about having The Hurt Business become a bit more political and tap into the Black Lives Matter movement that we're seeing around the world at the moment, and essentially have The Hurt Business as a soft relaunch of the Nation of Domination. And there certainly have been parallels between them. However, it's been rumoured that WWE have decided not to go that way. That's something that I did speculate on in the Hurt Business video that I did on the channel here, is that I just think with WWE nowadays in 2020 as a publicly traded company, and with their political connections. I mean, they were deemed an essential business in Florida for a reason, because Linda McMahon and Vince McMahon donated heavily to the governor of Florida's re-election campaign and do have their ties with the current presidential administration. I just don't think that WWE would touch that with a 10-foot pole, to be honest, because it's too close to the vest for them. I don't know. It would get to people talking too much. Could you imagine that? WWE not wanting to get people talking about them and not having publicity. They in the recent years, especially as we've had the current administration in, WWE have tended to stay away from political issues on WWE television. Tended to not mention the likes of the current president and his affiliation with being a WWE Hall of Famer, and the McMahon family's affiliation with the Trump administration. Linda McMahon being part of the Trump administration, she was a small business. She's part of the small business cabinet or something like that. So they don't tend to mention that. And again, that's why I don't think they were going to touch the whole Black Lives Matter movement at the moment. And it looks like that's going to be the case. So I don't think the Hurt Business is going to be the Nation of Domination version 2. Which it's just funny because it's typical WWE, isn't it? Bringing Mark Henry and Ron Simmons to Raw, bringing them to the Performance Center, and we know the perils of going to the Performance Center at the moment, whether it be COVID testing or people actually being tested positive for COVID and all that sort of stuff, and bringing someone of the age of Ron Simmons and bringing Mark Henry in there, and they're not using them at all. It's just typical WWE, isn't it, at the moment? So that's the status when it comes to the Hurt business. But as I mentioned, I think MVP would be the one to benefit most by winning tonight. If I was booking, if I was in charge, I would have MVP win. I think Apollo Crews will win because that kind of puts a nice bow on the feud between Apollo Crews and MVP. Again, I do sympathise with Apollo Crews. I think his United States Championship run at the moment has been very forgetful and not massively impactful. And again, I don't think fault of his own. I think it's just when he became champion, WWE, and they still are at the moment, are in a bit of a state of chaos and flux and ratings going down, not sure what's going on with fans, having the shows at the Performance Center, multiple shows being taped at one time, certain superstars not being available because they're at home, isolating or shielding or not comfortable performing, or people then testing positive for COVID-19, including Apollo Crews himself. So it's just been a very misfortunate case for Apollo Crews so far as United States champion. So again, it's just an unlucky thing for him. But if I was booking Monday Night Raw, and I'm not, shocker, spoiler, I'm not. But if I was booking Monday Night Raw, I'd have MVP go over in this one. I really would. I think just to be honest, having Shelton Benjamin as a 24/7 champion and it being in the Hurt business has made the group, or makes rather the 24/7 championship feel more important than it has been at all recently, and I think that's a positive. I think, as I mentioned, the Hurt business as a faction going forward and as a group on Monday Night Raw is something that people are talking about and people are interested in because it's different. Obviously, we see factions at certain points, but this is a faction so far of superstars that the majority of the people know very, very well and are well-tenured superstars in WWE. MVP made his debut in WWE back in 2006. I know obviously he had some time off between then and returning at the start of this year at the Royal Rumble. Bobby Lashley, again, made his debut around 2005, I think. I think 2005. I'm going to say 2005. But made his debut in 2005 and again, well known. Obviously took, again, like MVP, was away for a while before returning to WWE in 2018. Same with Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin made his debut back in 2003 in WWE. Left the company for a while, came back. But these are well-known superstars that maybe weren't being used to, especially in Lashley and Shelton Benjamin's case, weren't being used to the best of their ability. And since being affiliated with MVP, they suddenly seem more important. They're getting TV time, and just the group as a whole is something that's interesting and worth watching. Bobby Lashley in recent months, in my opinion, has been booked the best that he has been since he returned to WWE in 2018. He's not been flexing his glutes, he's not been doing double bicep poses, wearing stupid Ray-Ban sunglasses or anything like that. He's been booked as a monster, which is what got him over so well in when he was wrestling in Impact Wrestling, and got him over so well back in the mid-2000s when he was there previously, because he looks great, he looks like a monster. So you book him like a monster. You don't have him doing comedic stuff. You don't have him being a lackey for Baron Corbin or Constable Corbin or King Corbin or Corbin, whatever his name is, and anything like that. I think he's been booked the best way that he has been since he's returned. And Shelton Benjamin, it's funny because when Shelton Benjamin returned in 2017, I think he was originally scheduled to return in 2016, had the shoulder problem, came back in 2017. When he did return, people were excited because Shelton Benjamin was well known for these crazy moments in WWE, super athletic, one of the best mid-card guys in the mid-2000s, Intercontinental Champion numerous times, spots at WrestleMania during those Money in the Bank ladder matches, the spot with Shawn Michaels on Raw in 2005 with the super kick. Just great wrestler, not great on the mic, but his matches are always great, and he was just a great talent to have on the roster, and people were excited to see him back when he came back, and just, again, WWE brought a talent back and they just didn't know what to do with him. And for the longest time, he was with Gable on SmackDown, didn't really work out. Singles run, just didn't do anything. I mean, was it in 2019 where they would have interviews and he would just sort of stand there and not say anything and pull weird faces? Great creative, pal. But since he's been associated with the Hurt Business the last couple of weeks on Raw, he's felt more relevant. He's a 24/7 champion now and has kept it for a while. I think, to be honest, that championship is just, it's dead. The idea of it just hasn't been properly executed. It was fun for a little while, but it was a novelty and it's got old very quickly. I think the only way to save it, if you can, is potentially, like I mentioned before, put it on someone that's relevant, put it on someone that isn't going to drop the title every 5 seconds and make it mean something. I've pitched for a long time, have a main eventer hold the title. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I thought Randy Orton should have won it with R-Truth. Why? Because if Randy Orton's the 24/7 champion, nobody is going to touch him. It's a similar way, in my opinion, to how when The Undertaker was the hardcore champion back in 2001, 2002, you're not going to have anyone go and try and roll up The Undertaker. You know, no one's got the balls to do that. No one's going to try and mess with The Undertaker. He's the guy. He's the legend. He's the icon. And if you've got someone that intimidating, that big, holding the title, not only does it give a rub to the belt and make the belt feel more important and more meaningful, it also means you actually have someone with a substantial title reign. They can defend it a few times. You actually have credible challengers. It feels like a championship again, rather than a stupid comedy bout. It doesn't help the way it looks as well. The green strap and the clock logo is one of the worst looking championships in history, in my opinion. Some people would disagree with that, but it's just, yeah, awful title. But having Shelton Benjamin as the champion, I think, does help it out. And makes him feel a bit more relevant, especially being in the Hurt Business, but it also helps the credibility of the Hurt Business too. Again, I would have MVP win the United States Championship tonight because he's just so synonymous with the title at this point. He was the one that introduced it. I'm guessing the original plan would have been to have Apollo Crews beat MVP at Extreme Rules, but I think momentum's with MVP right now. I think MVP has the momentum. I think the Hurt Business has momentum. So for me, it makes logical sense for MVP to win the title tonight. Again, I'm not sure if he will. Maybe we'll see another swerve. Maybe we'll see... There were rumours back around Money in the Bank time that Apollo Crews was going to turn heel with MVP. Of course, Apollo Crews was meant to be part of Money in the Bank. He got a knee injury, which led to him eventually coming back and then winning the United States Championship off of Andrade. But a lot of people speculated, and I believe it was the plan at the time, was that this whole knee injury angle was to facilitate a heel turn for Apollo Crews, and he was going to be potentially part of the Hurt Business stable with MVP, with Bobby Lashley. I don't know if Shelton Benjamin was part of the plans then. But that still certainly could happen. What happens tonight if the bell rings and we have a little bit of a finger poke of doom? If Apollo Crews lays down, or maybe MVP lays down and lets Apollo Crews pin him, and then we see that after weeks and weeks and weeks of MVP trying his very, very best to win over Apollo Crews and let Apollo Crews be his business manager, this month off of television due to Bobby Lashley's vicious full Nelson attack could be the facilitator for Apollo Crews finally turning heel and MVP finally becoming Apollo Crews' business manager. I could see that happening too. I'm not going to say if just Apollo Crews wins clean, I'm going to be annoyed, because I wouldn't, because I still think Apollo Crews does deserve to have a proper run with the title. It's just circumstance has been that it hasn't worked out so far. But I think it's definitely possible that either MVP wins or we see some form of swerve of Apollo Crews joining the Hurt Business. I think there's more to come, as I mentioned before. I think there is more to come when it comes to the Hurt Business. This is a fledgling faction on Monday Night Raw. I think we'll eventually get more members. I think eventually, you know, I don't think Bobby Lashley will become WWE champion or anything like that. But I think it's certainly a group that is interesting, and certainly a group that has more to it, and I think we're gonna see more of this group being explored in the coming weeks, and I think it's gonna become a bigger part of Monday Night Raw in the near future. So that's really exciting, and I think because of that, I would have MVP win tonight. But I'm gonna go with my prediction that Apollo Crews wins. I won't say how it's gonna happen because I don't know. Again, it could be totally clean. Apollo Crews returns to the Raw, babyface beats the heel, one and done. Apollo Crews gets the new title and gets out of there. Again, we could have Apollo Crews win, but he joins the Hurt Business in the process. Or there's lots of different ways that they could do this one. So it's a fascinating match. A match that we meant to see at Extreme Rules, but we're going to see tonight on Monday Night Raw. And it's going to open the show. And traditionally, If you look at the ratings of Monday Night Raw, if you compare to over the last couple of months, the thing that opens Monday Night Raw is the thing that gets the most viewers most of the time, because the viewers are there at the start of the show, and then because it's 3 hours, it gradually tails off because people get tired, they don't want to watch it anymore, the show's not that great, it's too long, etc., etc. So arguably, Apollo Crews versus MVP might be the most watched match of this show, and if being put in the position to open the show suggests that something big might happen. So if that is the case, if something big might happen, we might see Apollo Crews turn heel, we might see a new United States champion, we might even see this whole Nation of Domination thing come together, even though I don't think that will be the case, but we could see something big happen, so I'm very interested to see what happens going forward with this United States Championship match, what happens with the Hurt Business going forward, and what happens with Apollo Crews going forward in WWE. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on tonight's United States Championship match between Apollo Crews and MVP to open Monday Night Raw? Who do you think is going to win? Is it going to be MVP? Is it going to be Apollo Crews? Who will leave as the real United States Champion? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond to all of your comments. I really do enjoy interacting with you guys in the comment section below. It's all about sharing your opinions and just voicing your opinions with no judgment here on this channel, so be free to leave a comment down below and I'm sure to get back to you. If you've enjoyed this video also, you can leave a like on it. It really does help us out on the channel here, go up the rankings on YouTube and get into people's recommendation feed. So if you have enjoyed it, please do smash a like on this video, and most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. We've recently made it over 600 subscribers. Our next aim is 700 on that long road to 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be doing a lot more live streams, watch alongs, reactions, all of that fun stuff on this channel. It's a lot easier to do that once we get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. If you have already subscribed, just know that I'm very, very thankful for you watching and listening and interacting with this video, this channel. I really, really do appreciate it. It's incredibly humbling. It's amazing that anyone would want to listen to me talk about wrestling. So I really do appreciate everyone that has subscribed and watches all of these videos. It's, you know, I can't put into words how thankful I am. If you haven't already also, you can follow us on social media. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365 Wrestle on Twitter and at Wrestle News 365 on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.